Hey, it's John. Welcome back to the show, and welcome back to the latest edition of the Album War. Premise of this series is to talk about two or more bands or artists who released an album with the same title, regardless of era, regardless of genre. I will discuss these albums, talk about what I like about them, what I may not be so crazy about with them, and then I will determine the winner of the Album War. Today's album title, Next. As the late great Ed Darian would say, let's meet the principals. But before we do, a shout out to Thomas Weary for suggesting this album more in the comments of one of my shows a few months ago. Thank you so much, Thomas. This was a fun one to do. Let's meet the principals. This band is one of the great glam rock bands of the 1970s, although they only really had a cult following here in the United States. They were much bigger in the UK. This is the Sensational Alex Harvey Band with their second album, released on November 16, 1973, on Vertigo Records. Next. The second band I'm going to talk about released this album while they were still more of a jazz fusion quartet. They would change their sound with their next album, no pun intended, and they would become one of the great arena rock bands and certainly one of the biggest bands of the 1980s, particularly in the United States. I am talking about Journey with their third album, released on February 9, 1977 on Columbia Records. Next. So I like to go chronological when I do these album wars. So let's talk about the Sensational Alex Harvey Band album first. As I mentioned before, this was their second album. This was produced by Phil Wayman and the Sensational Alex Harvey Band. The band at this point were Alex Harvey on lead vocals and guitar, Sal Clemenson on guitar and backing vocals, Chris Glenn on bass and backing vocals, Hugh McKenna on electric piano, organ, grand piano, and backing vocals, Ted McKenna on drums, percussion, and backing vocals, and Graham Smith on harmonica as a session musician. So this is a very well recorded album, and the band really have their sound down on here. Alex Harvey is charisma personified, one of the great frontmen that most people don't know about. This is excellent. The songs are outstanding. The band are in complete sync, regardless of what musical avenues they go down to. Excellent tracks. Let's go into the track list. Swamp Snake is the opening track. This was the single here in the United States. This was written by Alex and Hugh. The piano by Hugh is really driving the song here, and it does on several of these songs. Alex's vocal, very, very charismatic. The harmonica plays a key role in this song. It's very, very catchy, very simple chorus, but very effective. Sometimes you don't need much. We got a nice, noisy yet melodic guitar solo from Sal Clemenson here. Excellent opening track. And that gets us into the next song, which is Gang Bang, which has more of a rollicking feel. The piano's playing a pivotal role here. We got nice harmonies on here, very, very catchy, yet simple chorus on it. Very, very strong, very catchy. It's a song that they did quite often when they played live. Next track is The Faith Healer. The Faith Healer is the song on the album that's been covered by many, many bands, most notably Accept, The Church, and Saxon, among others. And you could tell why, because this is the best song on the album. This is fantastic. The use of drama on here is wonderful. Alex is on fire on here with his display and delivery. It's got a lot of drama, very, very cinematic song against what's about some creepy religious person. Excellent lyrically and musically. The guitars take a little while to kick in, but it's that hypnotic beat that keeps you into the song the whole time, and they're working around it. There's a lot of different things going on sonically with all the different sound effects coming in and out. It just keeps you completely engaged throughout its over 7 minute length. Excellent song. Next, we got Giddy Up a Ding Dong, which was the single in the UK. And this reminds you a lot of T-Rex. Very, very T-Rex. It's got a 50s feel to it. It's kind of like got a rhythm that's very reminiscent of Jailhouse Rock by Elvis Presley. This is very, very strong, very infectious and melodic. The piano playing again by Hugh on here is very, very good. Everything about this song works. I could see why this was released as a single. Next track is the title song, Next, written by Jacques Brel and Mort Schumann. This is where Alex's performance is at its finest. His vocal here is very, very strong. Again, the charisma is on full display. The use of the strings on here is very, very strong. It's a vaudeville track. And as the song goes on, it again keeps you more engaged. It's very, very catchy. It's even great before the strings really kick in. Excellent track. Next, we go into Vamble Marble Eye, not to be confused with Vambo, which was the first part of the Hot City Symphony song on their next album, The Impossible Dream. This is wicked as sin. This rocks like hell. Great use of the wah-wah guitar effect here by Zal. Wah-wahs are interesting because sometimes it can work very well or sometimes it can ruin a song. Here it only adds to the song. This is the hardest rocking track here. More driving than the later song called Vambo. The solo is also very, very strong. Excellent. Next track, the last track, The Last of the Teenage Idols. Now, lyrically, this is about Alex's career. By this point, he was 38 years old and he had a long history in the music business. And this starts out like a ballad at the beginning, and then it gets very, very rocking in the second part. Very, very classy. The playing on here is wonderful. The second part works like a bridge and it kicks. It's definitely more hard rock. And we got the horns in here, and the horns sound very, very cool. Everything complements each other very well. The song is well written, and all the playing works for it. They're playing for the song on all these tracks on the album. The solo on here is excellent, and it goes into more of a doo-wop part at the end of the song, which is very, very creative. Everything they do here is very seamless, and they don't just stay in their lane. They mix it up musically, and everything works very, very well. On this album by the Sensational Alex Harvey Band, Next. Now, as we go into Journey's album called Next from 1977, this is their third album, and the last album before Steve Perry would be their lead vocalist. This was produced by the band, so this was before Roy Thomas Baker was in the producer chair. Journey at this point were Greg Raleigh on keyboards and lead vocals, Neil Schon on electric and acoustic guitars, lead vocals on 2 songs, which I'll go over, Ross Valerie on bass and backing vocals, Ainsley Dunbar on drums and percussion. So this is the last of their albums which has more of a jazz fusion feel, but you can hear the segue to the great arena rock they would do on Infinity in the arrangements. As for the songs, I'm not high on them. I'm not high on this period of Journey. And this is an album I've heard many times. And I listened to it a lot more recently before I did this album more. I know a lot of diehard music fans love this era. I'm not into it. I love jazz fusion. I love Weather Report. I really love the early Mahavishnu Orchestra albums. I like Return to Forever a lot. Here, Journey, when they got together, they were in Neil Sean's vision, I believe, because the last album he played with Santana at that time was Caravanserai, and that was more of a jazz fusion album. They went into that direction with the band Journey. And the first two albums are heavier in the jazz fusion. Here we got remnants of jazz fusion. They were trying to change their sound. I don't think the songs were always here. Spaceman is the opener. This was written by Greg and Ainsley. As I indicated, you can hear that they're trying to go into the direction that would be more famous for them, more of an AOR arena rock band. You hear the remnants of something like Feeling That Way on this song. It's well played, and the album, the musicianship on here is excellent. Neil already has that great gift of the melodic solo you can sing on here. The vocals, they needed Steve. Greg was a good vocalist. I liked his vocals more in Santana. I loved his vocals when him and Steve would trade off on later albums like Infinity and Evolution. I don't think he's a strong lead, but I'll get more into strong lead vocalists later. The next track is People. This is more of a dreamy feel to it. There's a synth solo in here. We got a repetitive rhythm. I think that Greg sounds more like John Lennon in his vocals. And it's okay. Great drum fills on here by Ainsley. Nice solo here from Neil. Okay. I Would Find You, one of two songs sung by Neil. I'm not into Neil as a lead vocalist. I can listen to him play guitar all day. I don't think this works. I don't think the song is very good. We're opening with those spacey keyboards a la jazz fusion, and then it goes into this very sluggish rhythm. It gets very draggy. Neil's vocals are not strong. He's just not a lead. As a harmonizer, great. Not a lead vocalist. The song just isn't here. The best part of the song is the jam at the end. And you hear that a few times on here. Here We Are is the last song on what would be the first side of vinyl. Again, Greg sounds more like John Lennon. And again, it's very sluggish and very draggy. The jam at the end's good, but as a song, I don't think it quite works. Now, Hustler's the next song. It's the shortest, tightest song. This is Driving. Great stop-start rhythm. Great song. Kicks ass. My favorite song on the album. Musically, they're a machine. Only 3 minutes and 16 seconds. Comes in, kicks your ass, and gets out. Very, very good. Am I going to say it's as good as the Journey front with Steve Perry? No. But on this album, it's the best track. Next, we go into the title song. Again, we have more of the feel that you had on Spaceman. You can hear where they're going, even if the songs aren't very well structured yet. The riff on it is strong. We do have some inklings of jazz fusion among the proceedings here. Solo strong. Jam at the end is very good. Song itself, okay. I like this more than everything on the first half. Nickel and Dime, we get into an instrumental. This is more progressive rock. This kicks too. Ainsley Dunbar is a beast on here. Ross Valerie's creative bass lines, those counter bass lines, are excellent. It starts out a little mellow and then they're on fire, particularly after the 1 minute and 10-second mark. This is Wicked, my second favorite song on the album. We end the album with Karma. This is Neil's second lead vocal. We got a great solo on here. This is a song about moving on after a bad relationship. It rocks, but again, Neil's not the strongest lead vocalist, although I like his vocal on here better than I do on I Would Find You. Again, it's best at the end, although we do have a cool fade out and a fade back in part on this song, which you didn't hear too much at this point. It's decent. It's a little more raw than the rest of the songs on here, and it does rock at times, but it's decent. I wouldn't say it's good or great. So, this is Journey's third album from 1977, Next. So, who wins today's album war? You've been paying attention, you know who wins. I love the Sensational Alex Harvey Band's album Next. Here, they got their sound down. Everyone's playing for the songs. The songs are excellent. The production is outstanding. Alex Harvey's charisma is in full bloom. I think everything about this album works. Journey's album Next, I'm not into. I respect the musicianship. I think there's a couple very strong tracks on here. And I think they were still trying to find their way. And they would find it on Infinity when Steve Perry would join the band. So, Alex Harvey, 9.5. Journey, 5.5. The Sensational Alex Harvey Band wins today's album war. So, what do you think of these albums? What do you think of the Sensational Alex Harvey Band's work and Journey's work, particularly Journey's early albums? Have you seen either of these bands live? Did you see Journey before Steve Perry came into the band? Are you a bigger fan of the Steve Perry era or the early jazz fusion era? What are your favorite songs by both of these bands? Please let me know in the comments. If you would like to hear some more Sensational Alex Harvey Band content, please check out the recent live cut show that I did with Logan Collins from Slogan's Rock and Metal Extravaganza, as we discussed the Sensational Alex Harvey Band's first live album called Live. I will have a link in the description to this video. So, I thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this album war. Do what you love, and I'll talk to you soon.